My husband told his entire family to dump all the kids on me and turn me into the family daycare. He didn't expect what I did next. I found out about the arrangement at my sister-in-law's birthday party. Dererick was in the backyard with his brothers and their wives, and I was inside doing dishes when Linda pulled me aside with her toddler on her hip. She said, "So Dererick mentioned you're fine watching Lucas next weekend while we go to that conference." I had no idea what she was talking about. I told her Dererick had never mentioned anything to me about watching her son. Linda looked confused and then called Dererick inside. He came in, wiping his hands on a towel, and smiled like this was no big deal. "Yeah," he said. "I told everyone at the family gathering last month that since you're home anyway, you could help out when people need childcare. It saves everyone money and helps your family." I stared at him. I had never agreed to be the family daycare. I had never said I was available to watch other people's children. I hadn't even been asked. Dererick explained that it was just helping out, that family helps each other, and that I should be happy to be needed. Linda nodded supportively. "He said you were really good with kids and that you wouldn't mind." I asked Dererick if we could talk in the other room. Once we were alone, I told him he couldn't make decisions about my time without asking me first. He said I was being selfish, that family was important, that watching a few kids for a few hours wasn't a big deal. I told him it was a very big deal to me and he needed to call everyone back and tell them the arrangement was off. He said he'd think about it. The first drop-off was the following Saturday. Dererick's brother showed up at 8 in the morning with his 2 kids, ages 3 and 5, without warning. He said Dererick told him to bring them early. I hadn't even had coffee yet. When I told him I couldn't take them, Dererick appeared and asked why I was making this difficult. His brother left the 2 kids in our living room and drove away. That was just the beginning. Over the next 3 weeks, Dererick's entire extended family seemed to believe I'd become free childcare. His cousin dropped off her infant twice without a car seat, just handing me the baby and leaving. His other sister came by with 3 kids and said she'd be back in 6 hours. One of them got sick in our bathroom. Another broke a lamp. My own child stopped getting my attention because I was managing 5 other children on a Tuesday afternoon while Dererick was at work. I finally told Dererick I was done. I said he needed to tell his family immediately that this wasn't happening anymore. He said I was being dramatic. He said people depended on me now. He said real wives helped their husbands' families. He said I was selfish for not wanting to be part of the family support system. He said his mother had watched his siblings' kids all the time and nobody ever complained. I told him she chose to do that. I said, "You made this choice for me without my permission. That's different." He had already decided my objection wasn't valid. He told his family I was just tired and would be fine once I adjusted. The next Saturday, 5 kids showed up at our door. 5, his brother, his cousin, and his sister. All dropped kids off between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning, all with vague pickup times, all expecting me to manage them while Dererick went to play golf. I called him while he was on the course. I told him to come home immediately. He said it was too late to cancel and that I was a stay-at-home mom, so this was literally what I did all day. I told him I did childcare for 1 child, not 6. I told him if he didn't come home, I was leaving. He laughed and said I wouldn't actually do that. I packed a bag, loaded my own child into the car, and drove to my mother's house. I left all 5 of his relatives' children in our living room unsupervised. His family started calling within 20 minutes. Dererick called from the golf course, frantically asking where I was. I didn't answer until he got home and realized the kids were still there, waiting to be picked up by the people who had dropped them off. I told him I was at my mother's house and staying until he called every single member of his family and told them the childcare arrangement was permanently finished. It took 3 days before he finally called. I thought it would stop, but what happened next made me lose it. I got back home on a Thursday afternoon. Dererick had spent 3 days calling his family, or so he said, telling them the childcare arrangement was permanently over. He seemed relieved when I agreed to come home, like everything was fixed now. I unpacked my bag and tried to settle back into normal life. My daughter was happy to be in her own room again. Dererick made dinner that night, and we ate mostly in silence. He kept saying things would be different now that his family understood. I wanted to believe him. 2 days later, on Saturday morning, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Illa. "Hey, so when are you going to be back to normal? I need to drop off the kids next Saturday for a few hours." I stared at the screen. Back to normal. Like the past month had just been me having some kind of breakdown, like Dererick had actually told her anything real. I felt my stomach drop. Another text came through while I was still processing the first one. This one was from Dererick's cousin asking if I could watch her baby on Tuesday afternoon, since Dererick mentioned I was feeling better now. Feeling better? I opened my text history and started taking screenshots. Illa's message asking when I'd be back to normal, the cousin asking about Tuesday, and more. I scrolled further and found even more messages. Dererick's other sister had texted 3 days ago asking if the situation was resolved, yet because she needed coverage for next month. His brother had sent a message yesterday saying he appreciated my flexibility, and that family came first. Every single message made it clear that Dererick had not told them the arrangement was over. He told them I was being dramatic. He told them I needed time to calm down. He told them I would come around once I stopped overreacting. I saved every screenshot to a folder. My hands were shaking. I walked into the living room where Dererick was watching television and held up my phone, showing him Illa's text. He glanced at it and shrugged. "She probably just didn't understand what I meant," he said. I showed him the next screenshot, and the next, and the next. Dererick's face changed as I kept showing him message after message. He finally held up his hand and told me to stop. I asked him what exactly he had told his family when he called them. Dererick rubbed his face and admitted he had told them a softer version of events. He said he didn't want them thinking badly of him. He said he explained that I was stressed and needed some space, but that things would probably work out once I had time to adjust. I felt something break inside me. I told him he lied to me. He promised he would tell them the arrangement was over, and instead he told them I was being dramatic and would get over it. Dererick got defensive. He said I was making him look like a bad son and a bad brother by refusing to help family. He said his whole family thought he married someone selfish, and he was trying to manage their expectations while also keeping me happy. Keeping me happy. Like my clearly stated boundary about not being volunteered for childcare without my consent was just some mood he needed to manage. I told Dererick this wasn't about childcare anymore. This was about him lying to me. This was about him prioritizing what his family thought of him over what I actually said I needed. This was about him making decisions about my life and my time without ever asking me first. Dererick said I was blowing this out of proportion. He said marriage meant compromise. He said I was acting like he committed some terrible crime when all he did was try to help his family and keep the peace. I pointed out that compromise requires both people to agree. He made a unilateral decision to volunteer my time without asking me. Then when I objected, he lied about fixing it. That's not compromise. That's him doing whatever he wants and expecting me to go along with it. Dererick got up from the couch. He said his family thought I was being selfish and maybe they had a point. He said real partners supported each other's families. He said I was creating drama where there didn't need to be any. I walked away and went to our bedroom. I called my mom and told her what happened. I told her about the texts and about Dererick admitting he lied. My mom was quiet for a long moment. Then she said I could stay with her as long as I needed. She said I should think carefully about whether Dererick actually respected me as an equal partner, or if he just expected me to go along with whatever he decided. She said the childcare thing was bad enough, but lying about it was worse. She said a husband who respected his wife wouldn't volunteer her time without asking and definitely wouldn't lie about making it right. I was still on the phone with my mom when I heard the doorbell ring. I heard Dererick answer it. I heard children's voices. I walked out to the living room and found Philip standing in our entryway with his 2 kids. Philip smiled at me and said Dererick told him the misunderstanding was cleared up. He said he really appreciated me being flexible about watching the kids today while he and his wife went to a lunch event. I looked at Dererick. He looked away. I told Philip I wasn't watching his children. I told him Dererick lied to him. I told him there was no misunderstanding, and I never agreed to provide childcare for anyone. Philip's smile disappeared. He looked at Dererick. Dererick started to say something, but Philip cut him off. Philip pulled out his phone and called Dererick right there. Even though Dererick was standing 5 feet away, his phone rang. He answered it. Philip started asking what was going on and why I was saying I wouldn't watch the kids. Dererick tried to smooth things over. He said I was still adjusting to the family dynamic, and sometimes I got overwhelmed. He said, give it a few more weeks and things would settle down. I walked over and took Dererick's phone out of his hand. I told Philip directly that Dererick volunteered my time without asking me. I told him I never agreed to watch anyone's children. I told him Dererick created this entire situation by making commitments using my time without my permission. And now he was lying to everyone about what actually happened. Philip grabbed his kid's hands and left. He didn't say goodbye. He just walked out and got in his car. I handed Dererick his phone back. Within an hour, my phone started ringing. First, it was Illa calling to say I embarrassed Dererick in front of Philip. Then it was Dererick's other sister calling to say I was making family gatherings awkward. Then it was his cousin saying I needed to think about how my actions affected everyone else. Not one person acknowledged that Dererick created the situation. Not one person asked if maybe Dererick was wrong for volunteering my time without asking. Not one person seemed to care that he lied to me and to them. They just cared that I wasn't going along with what Dererick wanted. I told Dererick I was going back to my mom's house and would stay there until he had an honest conversation with his family about what actually happened. He accused me of running away from problems. I packed a bag, loaded my daughter into the car, and left. At my mom's, I sat at the kitchen table and wrote everything down. Every drop-off, every broken lamp, every missed appointment, every dismissive comment from Dererick. The list filled 3 pages. My mom read through it silently and then asked if this was the first time Dererick had made decisions about my life without asking me. I realized the pattern had been there since we married. Then my phone rang. It was Dererick's cousin, Seth. On speaker, he lectured me for 3 minutes about family, saying I was selfish and refusing to help, claiming Dererick was being thoughtful by volunteering me because I was good with kids and home anyway. I told him volunteering someone else's time without their consent wasn't thoughtful, it was controlling. Seth paused, called my ideas about marriage modern and toxic, and hung up. My mom squeezed my hand. Seth just proved how Dererick's family sees you, not as a person, but as a resource to use however they want. 2 hours later, Dererick showed up at my mom's door. I heard him talking in the entryway. She let him in, but didn't leave us alone. Dererick came into the kitchen looking frustrated and tired. He said we needed to talk and sat down without being invited. He complained that his family was mad, his mom was disappointed, his sister wasn't speaking to him, and Seth told everyone I was being difficult. He said if I just watched the kids a few times, things could go back to normal. I told him no. The real issue wasn't the kids. It was that he didn't see anything wrong with what he did. Dererick got defensive, saying I was making our marriage a family crisis, and that if I cared about our relationship, I'd smooth things over. My mom asked him if he got my permission before telling everyone I'd provide childcare. He admitted he hadn't, and said he assumed I'd say yes eventually because I'm good with kids and home anyway. I realized he genuinely thought volunteering my time without asking was fine. He claimed he was trying to include me in family life, but I told him forcing involvement wasn't inclusion. Making decisions about my time without asking was disrespectful. He accused me of choosing pride over family harmony and left the house angrily. My mom explained that his idea of harmony was everyone doing what he wanted, and his idea of compromise was me giving in over the next week. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages from his family, all pressuring me to change my mind. Some were angry, some guilty, some concerned, but none asked why I was upset or whether Dererick should have asked me first. Illa sent the longest message, lecturing me about family sacrifices, calling me selfish, and saying I was hurting everyone by making it about myself. She ended by urging me to reconsider before I damaged relationships that couldn't be repaired. I stared at Illa's message for several minutes before replying. I explained that her mom chose to watch grandkids, but nobody volunteered her time without asking. I told her Dererick made commitments using my time without my consent. I said it wasn't sacrifice, it was being voluntold. I would have been happy to discuss helping if anyone had asked, but Dererick decided for me and told everyone I agreed. The issue wasn't about helping family. It was about respect, consent, and communication. Illa replied within an hour, accusing me of overthinking, creating drama, being inflexible, and putting my own way over supporting family relationships. Her message felt like an attack disguised as concern. I realized Dererick's family wasn't interested in my perspective. They just wanted free childcare. They believed Dererick had the right to volunteer me, and that my objection made me the problem, not him. Dererick called Saturday morning, saying his mom wanted a family meeting to clear the air. I told him I would attend only if he first told the truth, that he had volunteered my time without asking, and I never agreed. He eventually agreed to set up a video call so I could hear him explain honestly. Sunday night, I sat at my mom's dining table with my laptop. Dererick called in from our house, and his parents, brother, sister-in-law, Illa, and her husband joined on separate screens. Dererick started explaining the childcare situation, admitting he had gotten ahead of himself and hadn't checked with me first. He said he assumed I'd be okay since I was home and good with kids, and acknowledged he should have asked me before volunteering my time. His explanation was awkward, but at least it was honest. His family's reactions were mixed. Dererick's mom spoke first, looking uncomfortable on the video call. Dererick's mom said she assumed I agreed because Dererick was so definite, and that she would have asked me if she knew otherwise. Dererick's dad stayed quiet, unreadable. Then Illa said even if Dererick didn't ask, I could have been more flexible once the kids started showing up. She claimed I made things worse by refusing to cooperate. I unmuted and explained what actually happened. Up to 6 kids dropped off over 3 weeks without warning. Vague pickup times, Dererick golfing while I managed them. One child getting sick, another breaking a lamp, and my own child being neglected. I emphasized this wasn't about helping occasionally. It was about Dererick making commitments using my time without consent and dismissing my objections. Dererick's mom looked uncomfortable and said she wouldn't have let so many kids show up without warning. His dad finally spoke up, saying Dererick should have asked first and volunteering someone else's time without permission wasn't right. Illa interrupted, arguing family helps each other without keeping score. I explained the difference between volunteering and being voluntold. Illa rolled her eyes, and her husband nodded. Dererick's mom suggested everyone reflect on boundaries and communication. The call ended awkwardly, with everyone logging off. Dererick seemed relieved, but nothing had truly changed. 2 days later, I saw a post from Dererick's cousin Seth on social media about modern marriages losing commitment to extended family. It clearly referenced our situation, and several family members liked or commented, including Illa. I felt sick. My private boundary had become public shaming. I called Dererick, who told me to ignore it and not take it personally. I realized his family was publicly condemning me for refusing to provide childcare. I never agreed to. I told Dererick his family was publicly shaming me on social media, and he needed to tell Seth to take it down. He dismissed it, saying I was too sensitive and nobody would know it was about me. I felt angry and hurt. My mom saw the post, read it, and told me the situation showed serious boundary and respect issues. She suggested I talk to a therapist, and I made an appointment for the following week. At my first session, I shared everything. Dererick volunteering my time, 3 weeks of unexpected kids being dropped off, leaving for my mom's house, the family video call, and Seth's post. The therapist helped me see a pattern. Dererick consistently made unilateral decisions without consulting me. She explained that healthy relationships require equal say and consent, and that his behavior showed ongoing disrespect. I realized our marriage had fundamental issues I hadn't acknowledged. When I told Dererick I was seeing a therapist, he got defensive, accused me of letting a stranger turn me against him, and said therapy was making me selfish. I explained that being a team meant making decisions together, which he hadn't been doing. He hung up. My next session was 3 days later, and the therapist suggested couples counseling if Dererick was willing. I suggested couples counseling to Dererick, but he immediately refused, saying he didn't need therapy and that I was being rigid about boundaries. I realized he genuinely believed he hadn't done anything wrong and saw me as the problem for not going along with his decisions. 2 days later, Philip called to apologize for showing up with his kids. He admitted he hadn't known I hadn't agreed to watch them and said he understood why I was upset. He promised to talk to Dererick about respecting my time and choices, which gave me a small bit of hope. 3 days later, Dererick came to my mom's house. He said Philip had helped him see things differently and that he wanted to understand why I was hurt. I explained it wasn't about helping family. It was about him volunteering my time without my consent. This time, he actually listened. He admitted he'd been focused on looking good to his family and hadn't considered how it affected me.